Hello everyone, I'm creating a game where you play as a biologist, namely a botanist, where you are put onto a planet loosely resembling the Earth to study and create fauna that you must send back to your corporate overlord. You will create a factory to explore and sell the biology of this planet, and if you don't, something will happen to you. Probably. Haven't figured that part out yet. I know I said I wasn't going to do this every week, but since I don't have a woman to bite or one of those fem twinks to turn my unlicked feet into licked feet, my existence will be your problem, my dear viewer. We will start off with this little segment that I'm going to call Offline Events. Now, earlier this week, I believe I have had my first experience ever with food poisoning. I have never thrown up more in my life, I'm serious, collective whole life, than I did those 2 days. One single sip of water, vomit. Half of a saltine cracker, vomit. Even the fever had me feeling like... So anyway, long story short, I lost 2 days of my precious development time. But enough of that. Starting off with the actual development, let's talk about the wildflowers. As you can see right now, there are a bunch of blue boxes that are currently growing into, well, flowers. If I go up to one of these and interact with it, I can collect it. It tells me what specifically is in the top left with the feed. Now, this is a little bit of an older version that I was doing. My current setup is right here. The main difference is that these flowers are actually instances, and you can't see the box around it because they are no longer interactable. When they grow, they also ended up being one single color because they are a single mesh, but I'll get that sorted out later when I start doing the actual meshes and not just like this random testing thing. Before I was recording this, I was getting ready to start making one of those instance to interactable object thingies. You know, the grass isn't always interactable. When you just walk up to it, it gets replaced with something that is interactable. So that's what I was currently in the middle of doing. But I'm going to wait on that a little bit, and I'll tell you why when we get over to the terrain generation. Before we get into anything too big, I made some changes to the UI. I'm sure you already see it, but now there's a feed in the top left corner. If I go back up to one of these blue boxes and collect it, you are seeing a couple things. You are seeing like the root of the plant, a prefix, and a specifier, I guess you could call it. In this case, the specifier would be obviously plant. This is kind of how I want the names to go, and this is kind of how I'm aiming for the names to go. The kind of idea is that you must register the plant with the company, and the company will analyze it and generate the name of it. And this style of naming seems very computerish, I guess you would say. In addition to this feed, I have also changed the plant pot UI. If I go over here and interact with it, all the buttons have moved to the side. This allows for a new seed selection. You get, I don't know if I mentioned this, but you get the seeds by collecting the wildflowers. You no longer spawn with the seeds, and the storage boxes don't spawn with them either. But speaking of the storage, I also created a little cell place. If I go here, this new widget pops up and I can transfer things between myself and this box. The cell box is on a little cell timer, and when it activates, it sells your points. Or no, it doesn't. It sells your item into points. Before I continue into this procedural generation, I would like to promote my Ko-Fi. It's by far the most active social media I have. You can follow for free, and donating is completely optional. Here I share pretty much anything I want, but it's mostly used for updates. If I gain a decent following, this will also be where most of my interactions, like polls and things, would be. Link is in the description if you want to check it out. Now on to the landscape procedural generation. The main reason I'm not continuing the instancing fixes and all that is because of this. Right now the whole setup is like one singular piece. If I walk to the edge over here, it generates a new tile, but this tile is not really unique per se. There really isn't anything of substance other than like a noise texture creating some hills. But the main issue is that since this is all one piece and not split up in any way, it creates a lot of bloat, especially for my instancing. I don't know if I mentioned this, but my plant growing is centralized around a radius in the player. The plants will only grow wherever the player is, and there's no point in like making them all grow. I also didn't mention this, but I also added a like time function that keeps, well, aware of the time. I create the instance with the time and then I check it against the current time. What was I saying? Oh yeah, this creates a lot of bloat, especially for my plant instancing. Instead of running checks on like the current tile and the tiles adjacent, I have to run it on everything, which is looping through a ton of items, unnecessary items. Now this really wouldn't be too hard to fix in Blueprint, but there's a lot of things that I need to happen and do for the generation that I figured I might as well just give myself a better foundation in the C++. Because if I do it now in Blueprint, it's going to be quite the mess. So yeah, I'm just gonna lay out a very thin foundation and build off of it some other time. And yeah, that's pretty much all. Thank you for watching and letting me ramble on. I know it's nothing too exciting. If you ended up enjoying my rambling, subscribe to get notified when I upload a new video. Also, if you want to check it out, my Ko-Fi is linked in the description. It will also keep you more in the loop of what I'm currently doing. I hope you'll have a good rest of your day, and goodbye.